We're going to try this again. Looks like it's actually recording this time. So, yes, good. Okay. So, I wanted this to be a repair video, not a repair video. No repairs are in right now. Instead, this is a salvage video. Phone came in through the recycling program. It's a Samsung Galaxy A12, says so on the box. These little bins, by the way, phenomenal little bins. A guy named Zach Friedman. I'll link his YouTube channel down in the description. Actually, I'll link the video where he put these out there. Gridfinity system, absolutely love it. Anyways, so customer came in. They had two of the exact same phone. One had a broken screen. One wasn't powering on. So, you know, I could have charged them for parts. I could have charged them a whole bunch of extra unnecessary stuff. But it made more sense to charge them to just do the labor of taking the good screen off the dead phone, put it on the phone that had the bad screen, and do it that way. After that, well, the phone needed to be recycled, so here we are. Now, with that in mind, what I actually did was a little bit different. I'll start by taking out the SIM tray. What I actually did was a little bit different. The main board was actually the problem with the other phone, with this phone. So it was easier to take the main board out of this phone, put it in the other phone, because everything else worked fine. So now this phone has a dead main board and a dead screen, but the rest of the components are all functioning. So we can salvage those and use them to decrease parts cost for our other customers if we can get this phone open. If we can get this phone open, I said if we can get this phone, there we go. Unfortunately, the A12 does not have adhesive. Unfortunately, it does have these horrible little plastic clips that like to fight me a lot. The previous video, I think, was about 15 minutes of me fighting with this one corner in particular. So we'll see if this goes a little bit better and if I look like less of an idiot this time. Come on. Come on. Please don't make me break out the big guns. I really don't want to look dumb this time around. Of course, that's inevitable. But, yeah, so rather than make them wait a couple of days for the parts to come in, we were able to use the other phone that was already deadlined anyways and save their phone. And since this was going into a bin somewhere, one way or the other, I said, cool, I'll take care of it for you guys. And I'll do it for free since, you know, I can get parts out of it if you guys are interested. They said yes. And I can use the recycled parts. I charge less for the recycled parts than I do for ordered parts, so I still make some money on them, but not nearly, I don't charge nearly as much as I would for, hey, that went way easier than it did last time. I don't charge nearly as much as I would for parts that I have to order. So with opening the back of the A12, you have to be careful. There's a little flex that connects the LED for the flashlight to the main board, which means that the back is a salvageable component, because if the back gets damaged or if the LED gets damaged, you're able to replace the back. And oh look, there's the flex. So take our spudger and just pop that off. And this is where this little bin comes in. I absolutely love this thing. So the shelf is already pre-labeled, and if it's locked in back to the back of the Gridfinity, you can actually just take your little finger and pick it up. But the big thing right now is these tiny little horrible screws that are determined to make my life a living hell. If you have ever dropped one of these screws, you know what I'm talking about. These things, I'll hold it up to the camera for those of you who aren't familiar with these. Look at the size of that thing. I have to hold tweezers to make it visible. These things are tiny. So, even though it's not a super common occurrence to drop them and or lose them and or misplace them, it's common enough that having them on hand for a given phone model is helpful. It's not going to hurt anything to have them. So we'll just drop these all in there. We're gonna pull out some more screws. Nope, come back. Nope, come back. Pull out some more screws. All right, we'll leave this shielding in place for now. There's no reason to take it out. It's not hurting anything by being there. There we go. And we'll drop that in there. And we get this one. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 screws in the bottom and 6 in the top. Yes, I had to count. Look, I do these things by muscle memory a lot of the time. It's a reflex. You build it up over time. That's not true. That's not true at all. You just practice. There we go. Okay. Now we worry about taking off the shielding. This one comes off fairly easy, though I'm not entirely sure why. You can see that I didn't bother reconnecting the screen after the initial test run. We did try it, but we knew the screen was broken, so there wasn't a whole lot of point. So this ribbon cable down here was left disconnected when I reassembled the phone, since I knew I was breaking it down for parts afterwards. This shielding up here is a bit more persistent. So we're going to use a turnkey motion, basically shove it in and you twist it. You're not actually like prying, you're turning it, and that gives you the leverage that you need. There we go. I just used the SIM tray here to do that, because that gives me the leverage. The shielding can be saved. It's not something that, you know, is going to be super common, but again, if you damage the shielding on the repair on another job, it's better to have it on hand rather than, you know, tell the customer, sorry, it's going to be 3 days while I wait for your part to come in for the phone that I already ordered the parts for. Ideally, you're careful enough to not ever have to worry about that. You should always be aiming to do the job as well as possible, be as cautious as possible. You don't ever want to put yourself in a position where you're risking customer hardware. But we live in the real world, and the real world happens. And, you know, these are thin, and, you know, there's a possibility. So hope for the best, plan for the worst. It's better to have 1 or 2 of these sets on hand and never need them, at least until the end of the phone's life, until, you know, you're never going to get one in, than it is to turn out that you need one and then you know, made your customer wait 3 or 4 days because you turned out you needed to order one and you had to order it on a Friday, so of course they weren't shipping over the weekend, and et cetera, et cetera. As far as the rest of these go, so we've got a inside screw here, and this is a different screw, which is why I have a 2-part bin for the A12. So you'll notice all the mid-frame screws went in the left bin. The board screw goes in the right bin. This gets disconnected because that's no longer necessary, and the main board is free at this point. This can come up. Disconnect this. No free advertising for you. You didn't sponsor me. There we go. And this can be disconnected. Honestly, should always disconnect the battery first. I'm just an idiot and forgot to do that because it's a salvage job. The phone was off. The charging board, we know, was working. So this part here is a known good working part. Really what we're saving for them is time. I'm going to leave the antenna wire connected, just so I know exactly which model this goes to. That's the only real reason that I'm leaving it connected. I could bag it, tag it, make sure that it's easy to recognize, but it's also just as easy to loop it around, keep it in the same bag. That way I don't have to actually separate it out. Up here, we've got, come on, your front-facing camera. Oh, enough force on there to actually move it off. There's your front-facing camera. Your rear-facing camera assembly with all of the various bits and bobs that go along with that. now we can lift out this whole board because these two are connected on the bottom. There we are. But this board we know is bad, so there's no point in trying to salvage this. Normally I would use the spudger, but if it turns out that I just damaged one of these, it's a minor part. I'm actually going to try and get a quick look at them now. Get back here. No sign of damage on the ribbon. Yeah, never, you don't really want to use your fingernails unless you absolutely have to. You want to use the spudger, it's softer. The one time that you think you're fine will be the one time that you end up damaging something. Okay. They look okay. So, all right, so these can go in the bags. There we go. From there we can get the vibration sensor. So this one's actually a bit weird. The vibration thing, you want to go in from this side and lift. The adhesive is already weakened and I'm not sure why. If it's terribly stuck down, you can heat it up. That'll weaken the adhesive and let you pry it up a little bit easier. And then the earpiece here, which also has a little leverage point here. I actually use the plastic one for this. Again, just because it's softer. So this is one of those things that, like, if this goes bad, you probably got, like, odds are the customer's just gonna end up getting a new phone rather than come see you. But again, it's can't hurt to have it on hand, especially because usually if the earpiece goes, the customer is not going to have a whole lot of interest in waiting for a new earpiece to come in. Turns out talking on the phone, kind of a key feature of having a phone. All right. You can, although I do not ever encourage it or suggest it, salvage the battery. I don't deal in used batteries. It's a thing you can do. I don't do it. You don't always know the condition of the battery, and I don't have the battery testing equipment here to verify every single battery for every single make and every single manufacturer. I'm not going to tell you how to do your personal devices. If you have two Galaxy S7s, one has a perfectly fine fat battery and the other is dying, and you like the one that's dying more, then do you. But I'm not going to take used batteries out of old devices. I will always order new batteries. The risk that this battery is damaged in some way or is reaching the end of its life expectancy is just too high for me to risk customer equipment like that. But yeah, so these are going to get bagged up and go elsewhere. And that's functionally it. This is going to go in the recycling pile, so I'll just move this off to the away pile. And I will actually use this to hold all of the bits and bobs that are being salvaged. There we go. The SIM tray is another thing that, again, you're probably never going to need one, but the one time you think you don't will be the one time that you actually do. All right. But wait, there's more, because it turns out it's a twofer. I had another customer who recycled an A51. Hold on a second, let me grab that. So this one, where's my little All right, so this one was a different situation. The customer had the screen replaced here and dropped the phone, and then wanted the data off the phone. And so borrowed a screen to put on to get the data off the phone. So now we're reclaiming the screen, and they decided to recycle the phone so we can get the rest of the known good parts out of it. The phone works, so we know everything in there is functional, but it's in Samsung A51 instead of an A12. So this is all the A12 goodies that we can salvage. Set this over here with the rest of the fire. For those of you who get that reference, fantastic. For those of you who don't get that reference, learn how to get that reference. All right, now let's go ahead and start with the SIM tray as always. I've forgotten that more times than I can count. The A51 is adhesive back. Let's see if I've opened it enough times to, yeah, I can just slide that right in there. So normally you would heat up the back. That would give you access to put in the thing. You just want to cut the adhesive around the edges where there is adhesive. I've opened this phone already 2 or 3 times, so without having to replace the adhesive. So it doesn't make, yeah, and there's, on the A51, there is no cable, so we don't have to worry about it. The back is functionally replaceable. All right, same thing as last time. We've got mid-frame screws to salvage because anyone who's ever lost a screw out of an iPhone or out of a Galaxy, out of any phone, out of any small electronic, knows the pain of losing those screws. Now my hands are in the way. There we go. Come on. Do, 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 do. 1, 2, 3, 4. Come on. 5. Never get over the fact that the manufacturers feel the need to put all their logos on the inside of the phone. There we go. 6. And 7. Now this one is not 2 separate shieldings. The A51 uses a mid-frame design, which means that once we get these out, we are not going to be able to just pop in a spudger, twist it, and pop up the 2 little ends. And this one works a little bit differently. Come on, give me the screw. Give me the screw. There we go. Instead, we're going to have to actually separate the mid-frame from the screen, and we're going to want to aim to not damage the mid-frame because that is a salvageable component, which I'll show why in a moment here. Come on. I just want to get these screws out because I will be the idiot who forgets to remove one of the screws and then try to pop the mid-frame out. There we go. One more, one more, one more. No, we're not gonna play nice today. We're not gonna do that. Okay. Let's try demagnet. Demagnet. Demagnet says no. Okay. Let's try detweezers. What do detweezers say? Detweezers also say no, but if you're spinning in place, that means you probably don't have anything to bite onto, so I should be able to just separate you anyways, and it'll be fine. Right? Right? And there's only one way to find out. It's a salvage job, so I'm not too worried about it. Anyways, so if you look here, the buttons are on the side, so they're actually integrated into the mid-frame, which means that if we get this separated, let's see, where's the insertion point on this one? This one is, all right. They don't actually have dedicated insertion points anymore. You sort of got to put it in hope. I'm going to use the SIM tray because that gives you a weak point in the plastic. but there is no longer a dedicated insertion point like there is in older plastics. The back is adhesed, the front is clips, like the previous phone. You gotta be careful because the front is also glass, but come on, buddy, let's go do the thing, do the thing. There we go. Come on, up and around, up and around. There we go. Okay, and then go around the bottom. Hey, perfect. Okay, are we stuck on that? Oh yeah, no, that screw is just free floating. Awesome. Good to know. Anyways, so we'll get that screw out of there. Boop. So yeah, all that wiring circuitry around the edges. You got those contacts on the inside that actually make it work with the, so those buttons actually work with the baseline. Without the mid-frame, the power button, the volume buttons don't work. So now we start disconnecting. Let's not make the same mistake I made on the last phone. Battery first. Here we go. So this cable goes first. There we go. Get that out of there. Beautiful. And check for screws because I know there's one here. Same thing as the A12. There's a reason I used a 2-bin bin. And we're gonna pop all the little ribbon cables off. All the little pop connectors. There we go. Do 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 do. All right, so funny story. I actually had have one of these charging chips that I had ordered for another customer. We were able to save her phone because no, it's a different model, but we were able to save the phone. It went into the ocean, went for a swim, and this board was the only thing that was damaged because the phone was otherwise sealed. So it was a water-resistant phone, which worked out in her favor because this was damaged, but the rest of the phone was intact. So we checked the seal to make sure that it was good, checked the rest of the device to make sure that we weren't causing any damage to anything. And after we did that, we noticed that this was just corroded to all get. But there was no damage anywhere else in the phone. There was no signs of liquid anywhere else in the phone. There was no signs of corrosion anywhere else in the phone. But it turned out to be a $45 job to get the phone back, to get the photos back, which was the big thing. So there was no actual loss to the customer. All right, so we can get that out, get that out. So the camera assembly is actually attached to the main board, but since we know this is a good main board, we already wiped the customer data. There's no real reason to disassemble the cameras like there was on the previous one, since we can just replace the entire assembly if the assembly has gone bad, or replace the cameras depending on the needs of the customer. So we're going to leave that intact to make it easier to track. Or if we need to part it out for a given customer, then we can part it out. Let's see, this one here is just gonna be a little bit of a lift up. There we go. This one's just adhesed down, and same thing as before. I'm gonna leave the little ribbon attached just for tracking. This is that same, well, not quite the same, but similar purpose. It's the same purpose. Vibration motor as before. Metal housing, so I'm not super worried about using the tweezers on it. There we go. And we've got the fingerprint sensor, which I'm going to leave attached to the screen just to keep that piece of glass that's underneath it clear. I'm actually going to do the same thing with the front-facing camera. Again, just to keep the piece of glass underneath it clear for the moment until I get it properly inventoried and get those pieces shielded by something else. The battery, however, again, I don't salvage batteries, but I have to get it removed. And that's sort of catch-22, is I have to get this off, but I'm not going to be saving it. I'm not going to be salvaging it. There's no reason to. Because I'm not going to be selling the battery. So I've just got to figure out how to remove it. Fortunately, somewhere here, where did I set it? Where did I put it? Where did I put the... Oh, I put it all the way over there. Hold on one second. All right, now this is isopropyl alcohol. It's electronic safe, so it won't damage the fingerprint sensor as long as I'm careful. But these batteries are adhesed in. It does eat through adhesive. Now again, this is just a salvage operation. I'm not super worried about there we go. Speaking of eating through adhesive, make sure it doesn't peel up the countertop here. Okay, just gonna leak that in. Give it a moment to seep in through the edges. So the batteries are held in by glorified command strips. There we go. Battery is up. All right. And that's it. That's 2 phones disassembled. Don't use this on a customer's phone. Do not use this on a customer's phone. Don't do it. For a salvage operation, it's a viable solution. Don't do it on a customer's phone. The proper method is heat and making sure that you're being very careful to properly remove the little command strippy things. Don't use the rubbing alcohol on a customer's phone. It is electronic safe, yes. However, that doesn't mean that you need to go actively risking things that don't need to be risked. There is no 100% pure isopropyl alcohol. There's always some other ingredient in there. Even 91% pure isopropyl has other things in there. And with water, for example, it's not the water that is the risk. It's the other things that are in the water. So there's no reason to take unnecessary risks by introducing unnecessary chemicals to a customer's electronics. Good old-fashioned elbow grease will work most of the time. There's no reason to actually take shortcuts. With all of that in mind, that's all I got. If I get a repair, then we'll put that up. I think I have an iPhone coming in for a screen and a battery fairly soon here. When that comes in, we'll put that one up. No free advertising for you. You did not pay me. You are not sponsoring me. But until then, hopefully everyone enjoys their wonderful day. And hopefully I am the worst part of it. Thank you. And, well, maybe I'll see you later.